Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Center and I'm delighted to join Rogelio and Allison with their movie, One Another. Let's take a look at the clip.
Can I take a picture of you?
Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Welcome to the New Filmmakers LA family.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. I love your film, I really do. But for those that haven't seen it, tell us a little about the story.
Yeah, so our film, One Another, it follows these two non-binary artists grappling in like this binary society of either or who find connection at a house party. Yeah.
It's such a lovely interaction. Like I just love their friendship and what was developed. Like how did this story come about?
I think the story was something I brought to Allison on like a very sort of nebulous idea of just wanting to create a story that featured specifically a romance story, a love story that features two non-binary characters specifically, and just wanting to know kind of what that dynamic would look like on screen. And I think, it was something that either from going to film festivals for other queer or just POC type film festivals, knowing that a lot of the stories that get put on display are often sort of trauma oriented or at least not as lighthearted as I think a lot of stories can be or can still bring a lot of healing with.
Yeah.
And so bringing that to Allison with just like a very small seed and knowing that this is something that seems interesting and I want to explore, but I specifically wanted to explore it with Allison. And so it was super fun to just like know kind of what Allison would bring to it. And from there, that kind of developed into the characters and the life that the story ended up taking on.
And how did you two find one another? Firstly, before we get into the story, how did that happen?
Yeah, so we went to the same undergrad school up in the Bay Area, and we met in a summer narrative filmmaking course where we paired together and made our first short film. And ever since then, we've kind of been like, we have to keep working on projects together.
You're the duo. You have to, right?
Yeah.
No, every time. I love it. It's just really nice because I feel like you're like two peas in a pod. So it's nice to see you both together. And honestly, this story, I'm so glad you really made a film about the non-binary space and the exploration of friendship and that. And that's not actually trauma related, but just two people that literally found one another. And it was really joyous experience to see two beautiful human beings that like at this party found each other and gravitated, and it wasn't like they could put their finger on it, but there was an energy. How did you go about when you were writing the story? Like how did you create these characters? Like what did you have in mind? Because I fell in love with the actors as well, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah.
I think something that was really interesting to work with Allison was also incorporating not just our personal experiences, but those of the actors as well. And so both Colby and Key were the two principal actors.
They're amazing.
It ended up just being me, Allison, Key, and Colby kind of together in a room, just like talking about our own personal experiences with love and gender and partnership, and specifically kind of those sparks or sort of what you look for in other people or what you end up finding. And I think, just chatting with our personal experiences, we started to sort of chip away at like what these characters could be, what the moment could be, and what we were interested in exploring.
I really love how the film was shot. Like it was just like, I mean, I know it was a party as well, but like it was like these really rich colors, and I just loved just the dynamic. Did you kind of know how you wanted the film to look, how you wanted it to feel? What was that kind of conversation that you both had?
Yeah, I think since the beginning, like color palette was very big for us, and kind of like blue signified romance and like togetherness, and kind of like subverting how you traditionally view the color blue. Aspect ratio is another thing that we talked about, and how, you know, these characters are kind of constricted in like this 4-3 world, but it kind of like expands as they find connection and kind of like fall into their truer selves for sure.
I want to talk about your wonderful actors because they really did a great job. How was that experience directing them as an experience, taking it from your own experience, but also kind of sharing that experience with them as well?
That was likely one of my favorite parts of the experience, was just being able to collaborate with them, but also to just find, I think, a partnership that worked really well on screen. I think Colby was somebody that I knew personally beforehand and have worked with them in other projects as well. And I think being able to pair them with someone was like an interesting aspect. So we casted online for Key through Backstage, and
Oh, nice.
kind of immediately knew, I think, in watching. I
Yeah.
think with any kind of casting, it's never like a game of talent or like how good or how is someone. It's more about like, does this feel like the right fit? And I think
Yeah.
pretty instantaneously we knew like, I think it is going to be Key without question. So it was really nice to both get that partnership to work out on screen, and also just see how their dynamic added to the story specifically.
I kind of love how obviously you both found one another, but did they feel like they found one another? Like, because they just had such good chemistry. So I'm like, how is it for them, like, discovering each other? But then obviously it's a friendship discovered in the story. And then how is it for them as actors working together?
No, they definitely hit it off, and like we had kind of like a semi-extensive like rehearsal process, and where we just like improvise, and they shared personal anecdotes about like their own gender identities and like working as artists like in LA and like new environments, and they're like the best of friends right now.
Oh,
So
see what you did?
yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
I love that. I mean, because that's a really important part, especially in the context of this particular film as well. What have both of you learned from this experience making this film together?
I think for me it was both with co-directing and with future just directing on my own. It's specifically learning how to be collaborative on each aspect of it. I think it's one thing when you're a director or when you're a writer and like you bring the story in your own kind of vision, and then you're kind of helping department heads or actors kind of understand that and kind of develop it as well. But to work collaboratively with Allison was like a process of like always finding new ways to be in sync at every step of the process, because whether it's on set or sort of talking to Sika, our cinematographer, or breaking down sort of the roles for the actors, like we always had to know not only what we felt, but like what the other person felt, so that we were kind of aligned in that way. And I think for me, that's going to be super helpful in any, whether it's other department heads on a solo project or collaborating with other directors or writers, like being able to be in tune so thoroughly from start to finish is super valuable for me.
And super good advice as well for anyone that's a filmmaker. How about for you, Alison?
Yeah, I definitely echo the sentiments on just like the importance of collaboration. I think I definitely learned how I can best empower my department heads so they do their best work. And I think, when you start off on filmmaking, you're usually wearing like multiple hats. Like you're directing, you're also editing, like DPing in some cases. And so this, I think, was like one of our first projects that we truly could like lean on other collaborators to like bring their voice and vision. And I think that's what made it so powerful and such like a beautiful project in the end. And so something I'll definitely take away is just like the importance of collaboration and being a source of empowerment for all of the crew.
You are a source of empowerment, don't you worry. Now, they were part of, this was a very special, it's part of New Filmmakers. We have queer film all the way through here, but this was all queer film, LGBTQ+, transgender program, just beautiful interactions, great queer projects in film, including yours. How is it being part of that particular program with other queer stories and filmmakers?
Yeah, it just felt like a really sacred experience to be around like such beautiful storytelling, and I think to just have a space carved out where I felt like I could truly just be and like show work that's like so intimate and like important to who I am and like my core identity.
I just want to say thank you for making a film, particularly in the non-binary space as well. We don't really see often enough films in this space, and the exploration through what that looks like and what that is and what you feel. And so I think it's equally as important for people that are from that space, but also for, is able for community outside of our queer community to really see and experience that. I know you're going to both be working together. Where are you taking us next? What's the world? Please tell us.
I think what's exciting about this project is we kind of envisioned it as like wanting to be the seed of what is a longer sort of story, and putting it as like a feature story where we explore what is like not just the spark, but also just the relationship at large. And I think that's, where we hope to take one another specifically, and of course continuing to collaborate with the actors specifically and with each other. And I know both of us have some pretty cool individual projects that we're both working on. I think for me personally, hoping to also work on a different short that's around Mexican folkloric dancers. And so it's around specifically another non-binary character who is falling back into the practice of like a traditional dance that's very gendered after sort of knowing their identity. And in the case of this story, it's one that involves both like a rekindled love story as well as a sort of recuperating relationships with family and sort of a gendered traditional dance practice.
Amazing.
I know Allison has some pretty cool stuff.
Tell us about what's coming next for you.
Yeah, so I'm going to be directing my thesis film. I'm in the USC film production program. So I'm going to be directing that later this summer, which centers a queer Jamaican-American woman grappling with the recent loss of her sister as she's trying to pursue a career in acting. And it's set in 2006 South Florida at the height of hurricane season. And Rogelio is actually going to be assisting directing with that. So very excited.
Better work together.
Nominate me for sure. This is Allison's project.
This is amazing. Well, listen, I'm so proud of you both. I'm glad you literally found. I don't want to. I keep saying because that's like pun, but I'm glad you found one another. I'm glad you created one another, and we're looking forward to both of your projects. So, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the New Filmmakers LA family. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. It was a fantastic festival.
Thank you for one another.